Are you a coach, a consultant, or a service provider who just dreams of scaling their business with less stress and more impact? Then you are in the right place. I'm your host, Laurie-Ann, and this is the podcast all about how to leverage public speaking events so that you get positioned as the expert, attract your ideal clients, and monetize your story. Today is a very special Father's Day episode. I have invited 5 dads to come on and share their best tips, advice, and even share a little speed bump. One of those moments where life was lifing. And these dads share one of those incidences and what they learned from those moments. So doesn't matter if you are a mom to be, a dad or a dad to be, it doesn't matter. Or maybe you don't even have any children like myself. This episode is still going to offer some great advice, no matter what level your business is at. So let's dive in.
Hi, my name is Adam Shibley. I am a full-time podcaster and host of Podcasting Business School, and I teach podcasters simple strategies to help them make more money with their online business and get more clients. I am a proud father of 2 children. My son Henry is an 8th grader, getting ready to go into his freshman year of high school, and my daughter Hannah is a 4th grader, and she acts like she is in high school already. I think the biggest challenge for me with finding balance between my duties as a father and my duties as an online business owner and entrepreneur is just being able to put my time into containers and give each of those segments of my life their proper due. And obviously prioritizing family. But once I figured out how to get organized with my schedule and not just mix everything together like different flavors of ice cream melted up in one bowl, I'm really strategic with each part of my day. What am I focusing on? Is it a family segment of the day? Is it, have the kids gone to school and I can focus on my business? And really being able to dial that in has helped me tremendously. So I've got a routine where I know I'm turned on and focused on family time, or I'm turned on and focused on being an entrepreneur. I can remember when I first was kind of getting my career going as an entrepreneur. Even before I was a podcaster, I was the owner of a fitness facility, and my business was growing extremely rapidly. Lots of clients. I had to hire a lot of team members, a lot of stress, lots and lots of extra hours. And I felt like I was failing at that. I felt like I was failing at being a father at the same time, just because I was spreading myself too thin. And I remember I hit a rock bottom moment where I actually got up in the middle of the night and passed out in my bathroom and had to go to the hospital and everything. So I worked myself into the hospital trying to do everything and be everything. And that was a moment that really shook me to the core and made me realize I needed to make some adjustments with my priorities and with my schedule. So now my non-negotiable boundary is within my schedule. I have preset days of when I work and when I do not work. So right now, I do not do any work on Saturday through Monday. And then on Tuesday through Friday, I've got a very specific and set work schedule with boundaries. And I'm not working while my kids are at home. And that has really simplified everything for me. So I'm not trying to do everything all at once. And for those of you that have kids that are getting older, like my kids are playing multiple sports all at the same time. They've got lots of activities and clubs and workouts and then things. And it's really hard to try to do all of that and do all the entrepreneurship checklist things at the same time every single day. So segmenting out my schedule, having certain days of the week that I do certain things and focus on specific things, that has been a complete game changer for me. And it's allowed me to be a very present father and be a successful entrepreneur. I think if I could give myself a bit of advice, if I could travel back in time to when I was first becoming a dad, trying to build businesses at the same time, I would just tell myself to do frequent check-ins and ask myself, am I being a present entrepreneur? Am I being a present father? Am I being a present husband? Like just doing check-ins. I'm going, what am I supposed to be focusing on right now? And am I being fully focused and present in that? And am I taking full advantage of the moment. The kids are gone. The wife is gone to work. The kids are gone to school. All right, full focus as an entrepreneur. Am I giving that this moment? Am I giving that my best effort in this moment? So if I could give a tip to dads that are just getting started out on their entrepreneurship career and starting that journey off, I would warn you, I will warn you that you will have guilt. You will feel like your business is starting to take you away from your family, but it doesn't have to. As you build your business, maybe you go on a work trip, you get booked to speak at an event, it'll take you away from your family. But the end result is building a bigger business, a bigger community, earning a bigger paycheck, earning more online business income, or whatever your goal is. And then you can leverage that to build the lifestyle of your dreams. And that's what I've been able to do, where I work 3 or 4 days a week. I've really set and definite boundaries of when I'm working and when I'm not working, when I'm in dad mode, when I'm in entrepreneur mode, but build strategically. And you'll have moments where things feel a little bit out of balance, but the fact that you're being mindful of that is going to ensure that you don't let it get too far out of balance. So that's the tip I would give somebody that's out there beginning their journey today.
Hi, my name is Jeremy DeMerchant. I am an award-winning speaker, international best-selling author, CEO for Mission to Sell Consulting Group, and founder of SalesEdge.io, the sales and marketing automation platform that helps coaches and speakers and other experts put their businesses on autopilot. I am a proud husband and father. My son is 3.5 years old. I have a daughter who's 15 months old, and then another little boy on the way, due in October. I think the biggest challenge that I've found balancing fatherhood and running a business has really been guilt. I started off my business before I had kids, and I started working 12-hour days to get things done. I'm easily distractible, and instead of putting structure in place, I just would grind more, and I saw success. But when I met my wife and then we had kids, I lost that time in the day. I need to be there for my kids, for their life, and time is so short. And so I found myself feeling guilty when I was at work, when I thought I should be with my kids. And I also felt guilty when I was with my kids and thought I should be doing work. And I think the big thing that changed it for me was setting boundaries. And as part of the setting boundaries, getting agreement on those boundaries from my wife, because she's the one, other than the kids, that are most impacted by my work schedule. So my kids come home at 5 p.m. And at that point, I've blocked off so I don't have any meetings booked between 5 and 7. And most evenings, I don't work. As far as a moment I can share where I felt like I was failing at both fatherhood and my business, I wish it was one moment. It's definitely happened more often than I'd like to admit. But the key piece really had to do with that guilt, that struggle that I was balancing. And I remember one particular day that instead of coming home at 5 p.m., my wife and kids came home at 4:40 p.m., which probably doesn't seem to be that big of an issue. But in my mind, in that moment, when I saw the car pull in, when I heard the door open, and I heard my daughter come through the door crying, probably because she was tired or hungry, and then my son comes in mimicking her, pretending to cry, which is just the worst. And the first thought in my mind was that by coming home 20 minutes early, they are going to be the reason why I'm not going to be productive today. And I first was so frustrated. I was so angry because of this, and I was blaming them in my mind. I'd become this victim of my family coming home too soon, which in hindsight sounds ridiculous, but in the moment was really heavy. So I kept trying to plow through, trying to get things wrapped up, and I could still hear my kids crying upstairs and my wife being frustrated as she was trying to get supper together. And I went upstairs and my wife gave me a look, which I'm sure to her just meant, hey, I could use some backup here. But in my mind, in that moment where I'm in this horrible victim mindset, I felt like her eyes just said, you're a horrible father. And it just it was all on me, all on how I took it, but it hurt and it was not fun. And so that's what led to the conversation about boundaries, because before my kids were just showing up and I was just going, oh, I guess, the day's over. And now I've actually set up these boundaries with a block of time in my calendar from 5 to 7 p.m. So I'm not worried about being stuck in a call with a client when my kids come home. I can usually drop things without anything majorly bad happening and can pick it up later if I need to. Now, as far as a non-negotiable that helps me set the boundaries, so that 5 to 7 p.m. time block is a big one. Also, my mornings before 7 a.m. are all about how do I spend time with the kids and help get them out the door. One of the things that I like best is being able to spend that time with them and be able to impact how their day kicks off. Like, I really like putting on music, having a little dance party before they go. And my kids typically leave off to daycare with a smile on their face. And they had fun to start the day off with dad. So that makes me feel great. It makes them feel great. And had a lot of people just comment that my kids always seem really happy. So I'd like to think that has something to do with it. Now, as far as a piece of advice I could go back and give myself, starting a business as a dad, I wasn't a dad when I started my business. So I'm going to make some assumptions here, but I think the key pieces in looking back is to build a business around the lifestyle you want. I used to do the 12-hour day thing, and now the 12 hours just doesn't exist anymore. And before, I just used to grind it out to get work done. And now I've got to build the business in a way that works with systems, that allows me to not spend my time stuck in tasks that should be done by somebody else. And so for me, the biggest thing is, if I was to start again, one, if possible, save as much money in advance to be able to be the kind of person that can invest money to save time, not the kind of person that has to invest time to save money. Because if you can invest money to save time, then you're creating more space for you and your family and all the things that you want to achieve. And you can use that money you're investing in either hiring people or outsourcing, or even having technology do some of the work for the things in your business that you might not like or might not be really good at. And it allows you to spend your days doing the things, more things that you love and less things that you don't, which then allows you to show up for your kids as a happier person. I think the best tip that I can give to dads starting or growing their business that feel overwhelmed is first set those boundaries. What are the non-negotiables? And have the conversation with your partner or anyone else that's impacted by your work schedule, and find some agreement. My wife and I agreed that there's 2 nights a week that I can go work, but it doesn't happen until after that 5 to 7 window when I'm spending supper time with the kids, family with her. And so that's the first thing, is just agree on those. And the second thing is, whenever possible, choose action over consumption. Take your day off by getting things done, focusing on action. What can you do that'll move the needle? Get those things done first. And if then you need to do some kind of research that you have the risk of being pulled down some YouTube rabbit hole, create that productivity momentum right from the start. And I think you'll feel even more productive about your day.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying this episode. And before we continue with our next dad, I just wanted to let you know about a resource that I have for you. So whether you're just getting started and you don't know where to find speaking engagements, or you've been speaking for a little bit, but you feel like the well is drying up, well, I have something for you. It's called the Directory of Places to Speak. Over 60 different places in 6 different industries for you to find speaking events, for you to pitch yourself. Now, this is a very special curated list, and I happen to know personally that all of these organizations look for speakers on the regular for their meetings. So you can grab that at speakandstandout.com/directory. And now back to our show.
My name is Quajo, and my wife's name is Jamie. We run together a boutique Facebook and Instagram ad studio serving online established course creators. We have 2 kids together. Our youngest boy just turned 6 years old, and our eldest daughter is about to turn 9. And when I started this business, that's a tough story, but they were 9 months and 3 years old. I actually was forced to start this business, meaning we lived in China for 12 years and then had the bright idea of taking a vacation to Mexico just 2 weeks before the pandemic started. I had another online business in China that crashed and burned because of the pandemic. We were stranded in Mexico with only 1 check-in luggage and a couple of carry-ons and our 2 very young kids. And at that point, my whole life fell apart, and I had to take the transferable skills and start coaching online course creators and also managing Facebook and Instagram ads, which led to me starting my own business. Because as a father, I wanted the freedom and I wanted the additional income to live the life that we enjoyed, which is a life lived abroad. I haven't lived in the US since 2009. My biggest challenge balancing fatherhood and running a business is keeping the business within business hours and signing off and spending those limited, 2, 3 hours after 5 p.m. and before my kids' bedtime actually present with them. I need to do a lot better job. But I'm encouraged that when I do take the time to ride my bike along with my son as he's on his bike, or draw with my daughter, or even sit there as she braids her Barbie doll's hairs and try to braid their hair. The kids love it and they soak it up. And I just need to be good about doing a lot more than that because they get big so quickly. And I want to make sure that they have a good impression of the business, not a business that just took their dad away all day long. So I remember in the depths of the pandemic when I was working easily, 16-hour days, easily, and I was failing at the business and hanging out with my kids because I had to start this business from scratch, and it was tough. It was very tough. I remember actually getting upset with my son. I think he stumbled into the office while I was trying to record a podcast episode of all things, and I was stressed. We had nearly exhausted our reserves. So our emergency fund was down under 1 month. Business income was not anywhere close to where it needed to be. I was stressed, dealing also with being stuck outside of a country that I loved living in, 12 years in China, in Mexico, didn't speak much Spanish, and I actually yelled at my son for no other reason than I couldn't contain all the outside stuff and inside stuff inside of me. And I felt so bad because he cried and he got it that I was here trying to do something for the business. Yeah, I just make sure never to do that again, no matter what's going on. Like, cannot take business pressure or business issues and that kind of anger or frustration out on my kids. Now, one non-negotiable boundary that I've set for myself is I do sign off at either 5:30 or 6:30, depending on when the kids get back from swim class. And I do make it a point to do something, even if it's as little as like 30 minutes with them. My wife has really been instrumental in being patient with me and giving me calm and pleasant nudges to get there because she's very aware that the time passes, but somehow maybe you understand that as you spend time with your business, like I always told myself back in the day, I was making a trade-off that I could sacrifice time now to get the business that our family actually needed so that in the future I would have more time. And what I've realized is that's just a fallacy. It's a lie. Time passes and kids grow up and we got to sacrifice what we think is sacrifice, but it's not in the present, as in less time on the business, 30 minutes less per day, an hour less per day, but that time invested with our kids, I've seen that it makes a difference in my kids and it warms my wife's heart up. It's like her love language. Seeing dad with kids, go figure, right? It only took me 5 years to really figure this out, and I'm still not perfect, but here we are. If I could go back, the one piece of advice I would give to myself before starting a business as a dad is count the cost. Look at the lifestyle I want. For me, I'm glad I started a business, but if I wasn't forced out of my previous business or even my previous like full-time job back in China, I probably would have kept those because they made great money and there was less pressure on my time. The second piece of advice I would give myself is if I'm going to start a business and I had a full-time job, make sure And in this case, I did. I had an emergency fund set up, 2 years of money set aside. So if we made zero, we could survive. And my advice would be to take some of that money and invest it very early into a mastermind or a business coach who was in the same niche that I wanted to be in, same business, had already had the success I wanted. So I could, one, see their lifestyle, pay for an hour or two of their time, and two, get all the shortcuts so that I could leverage their mistakes and their wins and their resulting wisdom and take that as my own wisdom and save time, save mistakes, and get to the wins more quickly. That's my best tip to you if you're a dad and dreaming of starting and or growing your own business but feel overwhelmed. One, count the cost. Two, find somebody who's done it and get time with them. It's definitely worth paying them if you can't get free time with them. And see what this will or could look like for you. Sit on it, talk with your wife or your spouse. If you cannot get this idea out of your head, then try it in a very wise and prepared way. I hope this finds you well. Be blessed. Take care. Bye.
My name is Mike Milner, and I am the owner of The Collective, which is an all-in-one marketing solution and lead and client attraction system for online coaches, primarily in the nutrition and fitness space. And that's because I also own a nutrition coaching business that I've had for the past 7 years. When I first started my nutrition coaching business in 2018, I actually did not have a family. I was coming off of a divorce and a move across country twice. So I moved from the Philadelphia area to California and then back to the Philadelphia area after I got separated and divorced. And so it wasn't until about a year plus after that where I met my now wife, who has 3 kids. So I inherited a family. We got married in 2023. Just make sure I get my dates right. I now have 3 stepkids aged 18, 16, and 12. I would say the biggest challenge balancing fatherhood and running a business is, especially for me, it was learning that dynamic of boundaries and understanding being present with my family when I'm not working. And when you're a business owner, there's really no, like, you're not punching in and punching out or clocking in or clocking out. It's kind of, you're on the clock all the time. So I think it was really important for me to understand that when I'm with my family, when we're at the dinner table, when we're out at a restaurant, or when we're just, hanging out and talking and sitting around and just having good conversation and quality time, that I am fully present with them. Because most business owners, any business owner can tell you that the racing thoughts never really leave your mind. So it's very easy to get distracted and it's easy to let your boundaries go by the wayside. So I would say that that has been the biggest challenge. And it's really the way that I've navigated is just setting my own rules, so to speak, or guardrails, I guess you could call them, that if I am going to be doing work at weird times, like, go into the office, and that way everybody knows and they all understand that I run, multiple businesses. So if I'm doing work, just go into the office. It's so easy to just do work from our phones and things like that, but that sets a bad example when you're at the dinner table and you're constantly on your phone. So the best way to navigate it was just setting guardrails for myself, that business time is when I'm in the office, and making sure that I'm present when I'm with my family. So there was a time where I would say it was during the pandemic, when things were a little bit uncertain, and we actually bought our house in June of 2020. So it was kind of in the thick of it. And it was just a weird time with school and, not going in, our kids not going into school. So I didn't really have that kind of built in time where I was just home focusing on the business and without distractions. And because of the uncertainty, I would say I felt like my business was in jeopardy. I felt like I was doing a really poor job of contributing to the family dynamic during a very uncertain time, because it was like, it almost felt like everything was kind of falling apart. And I think at that moment there was like a time where we were outside on our patio having dinner together. And I just remember feeling so checked out because all I could think about was what was going to happen with my business and how we were going to recover and what the future was going to hold. And in the meantime, the kids were struggling because they don't have the social connections that they're used to and going into school and seeing their friends. And I just felt in that moment like, man, I'm not doing well at anything right now. And I would say the biggest thing for turning that around was honestly the support of my wife, who kind of noticed and really helped me to understand that there are more important things than being glued to my phone all the time or being glued to the computer and trying to figure like she just kind of gave me that assurance and that certainty that things were going to be okay and things were going to work themselves out, and just reminded me that I'm very resilient and I have the ability to figure things out. And that's really why I think I've been successful in business, is just that figure out ability. So it was really just her words of encouragement that were like, "Hey, I kind of see that you're checked out right now and you're stressed and you're not really being present with our family, and that's okay. It's understandable, but like kind of get it together. And the kids need you more now than ever." And I think that we definitely went through a tough period. So I don't want to act like it was all sunshine and rainbows after that. We went through a difficult time, all of us. And it was just, I think, reevaluating priorities and again, kind of setting those guardrails for myself to establish that work time is work time is family time. And if there is going to be an overlap, it's okay. Just communicate and let people know. And as long as you communicate, then there's understanding across the board. I would say that the non-negotiable boundary is that if I'm working, that I'm in my office. Also, if I'm going to be working outside of normal hours, that I let everybody know. However, I would say I really do try to keep a consistent schedule. Now, we have a unique scenario where the kids are with us for a week and then they're with their dad for a week, and we rotate a week on, a week off. So I really do try when the kids are with us, I try to make sure that I'm not scheduling as much as I can control, scheduling things outside of like the normal times that they would be home. So if it's during their school hours, great, I can schedule calls and meetings and all the things. Outside of that, or on weekends when they're with us, I really try to keep that time open to make sure that we can do things as a family. And they love to have friends over at our house, and we're kind of the place to be, so to speak, which we love. So I really try not to infringe on that and let that be our thing. So that's one. And when the kids aren't with us, that is where my schedule is more flexible and open. And so our situation is unique, but that's really one boundary that has really helped me maintaining balance between the two things. My best tip I'd give for other dads who dream of starting or growing a business but feel overwhelmed. So I think the feeling of overwhelm, my opinion on overwhelm is it's typically because you're focusing on too many things. You're focusing on like the end game, or you're focusing on all the various tasks that have to get done. One of the best exercises that I've learned and practiced is distilling that down into like the most important 1 to 2 things. So I like to use the analogy of like if you're trying to get water out of a hose and there's a series of kinks in the hose and it's preventing the water from coming out. Most people look at all of the kinks in the hose and are like, oh my God, there's 20 of them. And that feels really overwhelming. Well, what's the first one? Because the first one is the one that's the most important. If you remove one in the middle, it doesn't really matter. But if you remove the first one, it gets the water a little bit further along. So what are the 1 to 2 things that you can do now instead of focusing on all the things? Just distill it down to the 1 to 2 most important things that will actually move you forward in that process. And it removes a lot of the overwhelm. I think it comes down to prioritization and really looking at the most immediate constraint in moving you forward. And let's eliminate that most immediate constraint and then keep that process going from there.
Hi, it's Mark Mawhinney from Natural Born Coaches, and I want to thank Laurie-Ann for the invite for this special Father's Day episode of her show. I'm with Natural Born Coaches. I've been helping coaches grow their businesses since 2014. And I have a son named Gray, Gray like the color. He's a great kid. Well, he's turned 17 next month, so he's not as much of a kid anymore. He's now driving and doing adult things. But anyways, he is almost 17 years old, and he was about 5 years old when I started my coaching business. So, what's been my biggest challenge balancing fatherhood and running this business, and how did I work through that? I would say it's probably work life balance. And I know that that's a recurring theme for entrepreneurs, definitely. There's that challenge being able to turn off. I'm an admitted workaholic. And if I'm not careful, I could justify working 24/7. So one of the things that's helped me this year, I've started using is an app called the Brick app. And it's really a combination app for the iPhone and also a little gray brick, a physical product. And that's managed to help me cut my screen time by close to 50% so far. And that's been a real game changer for me. Let's see, moment when I felt like I was failing at both business, fatherhood, and how did I turn things around? Well, I think there's probably a collection of moments, if I'm being honest, where my eyes were glued to my smartphone instead of being 100% engaged with what my son was doing. I was trying to multitask and take care of emails and social media messages and so on, and that's not good. I remember there was one time that he was very young and I took him bowling and my phone was just beeping nonstop. It kept going, going, going. And I would get done my turn. He would go up to bowl, and then I would check in and see what was going on with my business. And looking back at it now, there was nothing there that was life shattering. That could have waited an hour for me to get back. And I do remember turning my phone off because I got annoyed after a while, but it shouldn't have been on in the first place. When I go into that business for bowling, in this case, with my son, it should be turned off. Now, one non-negotiable boundary that I've set that's helped me maintain balance is that at my home, my laptop stays in my home office. So when I'm working, it's in the home office. The laptop doesn't come out to other rooms. Whereas in the past, I would bring it out to the living room and be chipping away at some work on the laptop while I was watching something, or before bed, I'd bring it into bed. And if you do that, your life is going to be taken over, consumed by business. So again, the laptop stays in the home office. When I'm working, I'm working. And when I'm playing, I'm playing. And that's been a big game changer for me as well. If I could go back, one piece of advice that I would give myself before starting this business as a father would be to not put too much pressure on myself. Like a lot of fathers and entrepreneurs, I am guilty of this, and I put way too much pressure on myself. And part of it is being a father. I want to provide for my son and make sure he has all the opportunities that he can have. And that could be a lot of pressure at times. A tip that I would give other dads who dream of starting or growing a business, but they're feeling overwhelmed, is to ask for help. And I think men are probably the worse for this. I think women are a little bit better at asking for support and opening up. Often us guys feel like we can't show any vulnerability. We have to pretend that we have it all figured out. And that goes back to what I was saying about the pressure on our shoulders, and it's not good. So ask for help, be open, and that's a better way to do it. So happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. And thanks again to Laurie-Ann for having me on.
And that's a wrap for our Father's Day celebration. Massive thank you to all of our dads who shared with me and all of you that you can build an empire and a blanket of forts. I remember when my dad did that. And to every listener, mom, dad, mentor, or mentee, thank you for showing up and for growing, because the world needs you. And if today's insightful episode sparked an idea with you, I would love it if you would share this episode with somebody who needs to hear it. and then leave us a review so that more experts in the making can find this show. So from my family to yours, happy Father's Day to everyone. Keep speaking up, keep serving, and as always, be in demand.